think one of the biggest things that people have nowadays because of social media is shiny object syndrome. Try one thing, doesn't work in their favor, and they try to jump onto another thing. But because they have that mindset of, okay, if I don't see success, I'm going to move on to another thing, it's really, really hard for them to actually see success in anything that they do if they're just jumping from project to project to project.
Welcome to Side Hustle Hero, the show that is laser focused to inspire you to take action to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Possidy, author of The Way Success Works, How to Decide, Believe, and Begin to Live Your Best Life. It's hard to be online these days and not see ads from people on sailboats or standing next to their luxury cars claiming to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in e-commerce. They make it sound so easy, right? Today's guest is the perfect person to speak to the reality of what it takes to start and run a successful side hustle in e-commerce. And spoiler alert, her answer is sage advice for whatever is your industry of choice. By day, 20-something Melissa Ng is a certified professional accountant working in mergers and acquisitions for a multinational company. Her side hustle? Helping entrepreneurs get to where they want to be in their e-commerce businesses through her company, Launchers Academy. Not only can she speak to this from a numbers standpoint, she herself has successfully built a number of e-commerce stores and has been able to remove herself from their day-to-day operations. Be sure to catch the wrap-up at the end of the show, where I hone in on two real gems that Melissa shares. One is an attribute you just gotta embrace if you want to obtain the success you seek. And number two is about why you really want to take stock of who you're spending your time with. Now, here to inspire your side hustle story is my conversation with full-time professional accountant and side hustle hero, Melissa Ng. As a chartered professional accountant in Canada, a young CPA, you're on a financially lucrative career path with very full days working full-time in the corporate world of finance in mergers and acquisitions. What on earth was your motivation for adding to that workload and launching a side hustle?
Yeah, Joan, absolutely a really, really good question. I think the biggest thing for me was ever since I was in high school, I was always interested in entrepreneurship. So I knew that at some point in my life, I would want to start my own business, but also keeping in mind, do I want to start that journey with having no safety net, which was, I can quit my job today and start my business tomorrow. But the thing is that to me, because I'm an accountant, seemed like such a big risk that I did not want to take. The other thing on top of that was I was very new to entrepreneurship. So to be honest, I had no idea if this was something that was going to work in the long term. I just knew that I wanted to take that chance and try it out just to kind of see where it goes. But having the safety net of knowing I can rely, on my full-time income as having an additional stream of income that I can always fall back to and know that it comes every 2 weeks for the paycheck gave me that comfort I felt that I needed in order for me to actually go and take that leap of faith and start the business.
That's so smart, because then when you know you've got that financial stability behind you, that regular paycheck, it allows far less pressure on the business to perform. What was your first side hustle?
So my first one was a branding and design agency that I started with a really close friend of mine who actually had all the design skills in that space. And I kind of came in with more of a business strategy or marketing strategy standpoint versus her doing the design. So it's a branding and design agency where we helped early stage service-based entrepreneurs with launching their logo, launching their website, and helping them create their brand so that they are ready for the launch process.
It sounds like you've got a great team there, because you bring in the financial, strategic planning, left brain planning side of it, and she brings in the right brain creative brand work.
Yeah, exactly.
Did that transition into something else?
So that later on actually transitioned into our e-commerce business, which we actually started after the branding agency because we wanted to build a more passive income stream. What we found was that during the working on the branding agency, it was really fun and it was very interesting as well, but it was a little too active because we needed head count. And whenever there is more projects coming in, it just meant more time for us to kind of put into the projects as well. And knowing that, I had a full-time income, and at that time, she actually was working on a couple of other projects herself as well. We wanted to see how we can actually have an new income stream that was a little bit more passive, where we didn't have to be active in the business pretty much 100% of the time, because it was just me and her doing all of the projects at that time.
Where did you learn about passive income?
The number one book that I highly recommend to all your listeners and everyone reading here that completely changed my life and kind of helped me dive more into that mindset and that industry of getting passive income was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Was a huge one. And also 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. So these two books in combination, after I read them, I was like, wow, there's so much more to the world that I knew that I was in, because I felt like I was almost in a bubble, kind of, going the university route, having gone through accounting, which is like super traditional. And then later on, you kind of just get in this corporate mindset in a way. But reading these two books kind of helped me remove myself from that super traditional and corporate mindset into knowing that there's other things out there in the world that you're able to do that's not just your 9 to 5 traditional corporate job.
I can so relate to that realization, Melissa. Although when I grew up, it was that idea of you go to school, get a good job, and work there a gazillion years and eventually retire. There was never any mention of passive income. I discovered that years and years and years through my journey. And interestingly enough, that was Rich Dad Poor Dad that launched it for me as well. And what I do and I've done it a number of times for young people as a gift, is I'll buy a copy of that book, the real physical copy.
Oh, wow, amazing.
And for a bookmark, I'll use a $50 bill, a $100 bill. With a little note in there, you can do whatever you want with the money under one condition. Wait till you finish reading the book and then decide.
I love that. That is so powerful.
And I bet you, if they have never been exposed to the idea of passive income before, or actually haven't had the benefit of the excitement of receiving it, their decision of what they would have done before and after reading the book probably would have been different.
Yeah, that is so true.
Mm-hmm. So I applaud you for not only picking up on that idea through, your own study and reading the book, but then acting on it. I find so many people have great ideas, but they don't execute, which of course is what Side Hustle Hero podcast is all about. And speaking of that side hustle, I understand there was cause recently to pop the champagne at Launchers Academy when you reached a significant business milestone. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Launchers Academy, we've been in business for around a little over a year and a half now. And then we signed 120 students recently.
Wow.
And we also very recently are actually just shy of hitting a 6-figure month.
Very nice. What does Launchers Academy actually do?
Yeah, for sure. So Launchers Academy, we are an e-commerce mentorship agency, because myself, as well as two of my co-founding partners, we've been in the e-commerce space for quite some time, and we learned a lot about, the ins and out of e-commerce, failed a lot of time to actually get to those lessons learned and to figure out what is actually successful. We built an e-commerce agency to help other people interested in getting into e-commerce with giving them, the A to Z blueprint of how they can make profitable e-commerce stores as well.
Based on the mistakes and the wins that the three of you collectively, I guess, have had in the past.
Exactly. And we were able to build, a system out of all the learnings that we've had on, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, so that it was a much more comprehensive blueprint, because we also learned so much from mistakes, spent thousands of dollars that were pretty much down the drain because we did not know what we were doing when we first started.
Sure.
But because, in e-commerce, we are running the stores, but you're able to actually automate 80% of e-commerce. So we wanted to spend some of our time helping people achieve what we were able to see for ourselves, because that's, to me, is the most fulfilling part of being able to see that side of things versus just launching stores. And that's more of the financial piece, but being able to help people is very, very rewarding.
Absolutely, because it would literally be a life-changing event for people to end up developing a successful side hustle. So how did the three of you get together initially?
Absolutely. One of my co-founders, is from high school. So we've known
Nice.
each other for 10 plus years now, which is
Wow.
pretty crazy to think. And then the other co-founder, he has been in the entrepreneurship space for a very long time. So he's actually very well versed in starting, different businesses. And he's actually my partner. So well, the three of us came together to think, okay, well, we all have different skill sets that kind of mesh really well together. And let's try to see if we can make this work.
Excellent. It's hard to be online these days and not see posts and ads from people claiming to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in e-commerce. They make it sound like you just have to find a product, run a few ads, and the money just rolls in while you're sitting on the beach or on the sailboat. As someone who helps guide people to set up and run successful online businesses, what's the reality? What does it actually take to have a financially successful side hustle in e-commerce?
I love that you asked this question, Joan, because so many people, as you already mentioned, nowadays they see the success and they see it as an overnight success. So a lot of people coming in, they think, okay, if I work in e-commerce for 1 to 2 months, I'm going to be able to hit those 6-figure or 7-figure results. But it does not work that way at all. The reality side of things is e-commerce is just like any other business that you are trying to start. It takes time. It takes hard work. It takes learning from failures and mistakes to actually get you to learn from that, grow from it, and then get to, a different level of success or to get to those 6-figure months. It takes a very, very long time. I think a lot of people don't actually realize that. But because they don't realize that, they go in thinking, okay, this is a get quick rich scheme, or I'm going to see success in 2 months. And if I'm not, I'm going to quit. Like, I'm going to try something else. I think one of the biggest things that people have nowadays because of social media is shiny object syndrome. Try one thing, doesn't work in their favor, and they try to jump onto another thing. But because they have that mindset of, okay, if I don't see success, I'm going to move on to another thing, it's really, really hard for them to actually see success in anything that they do if they're just jumping from project to project to project.
Yes, we've seen that. Well, I've seen that as an author. I've seen that in the book industry. Most books don't sell a lot. You've really got to go out there and promote it to make it happen. Similarly, for the podcast, there's millions of out there that last like 7 or 8 episodes and drop off. You got to stay in the game for a longer term.
Yeah, absolutely. Consistency is the secret sauce, I would say, to e-commerce, to podcasting, to any business model that you do out there. Just having consistency and being able to be willing to put in the work day in and day out, even if you don't see any success or any results for many, many months. I think is the biggest thing of what, separates people from who are successful versus who don't see the results that they're looking for.
Yeah, persistence is the key. So too, make sure that it's something that you want to do, like that it is a fit for you. For some people, I would imagine e-commerce is, it ticks all the boxes. It fits their personality, it fits their capabilities. But for others, being in front of the computer and the whole marketing side of it, they want to run as quickly away from that as possible. So
Yeah,
to whoever the
totally.
type person that, yeah. So it really depends on the person. But of course, it opens up a possibility for additional income from, I guess, the comfort of your own home.
Exactly. And in this world nowadays, with being in 2022 and even beyond, it's never been easier to start a side hustle or start a business than now.
Mm-hmm. What is the best way for our listeners to connect with you and check out Launchers Academy?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Melissa, melissa.ngg. And you can also find me on TikTok. This is something that I'm very newly trying to create a little bit of content on. And you can find me on the handle at myecomlife.
Very nice. And tell us about the community that you've built up around Launchers Academy, because for a lot of people starting a new venture, they feel like they're on their own.
Yeah.
How do you support people to have the persistence they need to stay in it for the long haul?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we really try to do with Launchers Academy is that we try to keep a very tight-knit group where everyone does have the opportunity to reach out to myself or any of the co-founders to ask any questions that they like, any e-commerce related, and then even if it's mindset or motivation as well, they feel comfortable in coming to us because they know that they're able to receive the support that they need without having to be judged. And we don't, we always talk about being genuine and authentic in the masterminds that we have, which is every Saturdays that we provide to our students. And we talk about, lessons that we had to learn the hard way. We talk about, when we feel unmotivated, this is what we do, this is what we do. And then even like the failures and lessons learned that we've had, because we think it's so important for them to understand the full picture that e-commerce is not easy. But if you're able to be willing to put in that effort, then you will be able to see success and see results, but it's not going to be an easy journey. And we're very, very transparent on that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, proponent, promoter of mastermind groups. When you get a group of people focused on a positive outcome and really brainstorming and talking about ways things can happen, how goals can be achieved, versus all the negativity in the news these days, it's so beneficial to help us stay on track.
Yes, exactly. A lot of times people just need, a community where they understand that everyone is sharing the same journey as well, for them to feel, okay, well, I have people surround supporting me and I know I can rely on them if I do need help. That kind of helps push them forward as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to loop back to the beginning a little bit. You mentioned you wanted to step in and become an entrepreneur. Why was that? What's the draw for you?
I have always wanted to own something of my own, and also wanted to kind of see how far I can go as a person and see how far my skill set can actually take me. So I went into business school because I knew that if I was able to develop a strong business foundation, especially in accounting and understanding all of the numbers, that I can then use that and take that skill set to apply it to something I want to try to build up and see how far that can take me. So for me, it's always been, I want to have something that I can call my own, and also see how far I can really go with this thing I call my own.
Excellent. What do you think stops most people from jumping in and executing their side hustle idea?
I think the biggest thing of stopping people from actually jumping into their side hustle idea is having that block in their mindset of, I need to fully see the entire process and understand it from A to Z before I actually dive in. And feeling like they have to have the perfect timing is a big one that I come across. But what I would always say to that is, you don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to see the first 3 steps of what's in front of you. And once you actually get there, you'll be able to see the next 3 steps and then the next 3 steps. And it's always a process. You don't have to understand and know everything, because you never will. If you think like that, you will never end up going to entrepreneurship or developing your side hustle. You just have to have the comfort of being able to see the first 3 steps in front of you and just be willing to take that step, which is the first step.
That leap of faith.
Yes, exactly. Have that leap of faith.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you wait until you see it all laid out in front of you, it'll never happen, because that just never happens. It just doesn't. Plus, it's good. The plan's going to change, right? I would imagine from the time that you started your first side hustle, it looks very different today versus how you thought it was going to play out. Would that be fair to say?
Exactly. Yes, that is completely fair. And I have to tell you that when I first started the first business and first side hustle, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing.
Of course.
Like, I just started and was like, you know what? I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, and then I'm going to apply what I need to move this business forward. But you just have to start and you just have to learn along the way.
I think in life we have our successes, and on the other side, we have our learning experiences.
Yes.
So let's treat every event like that. Success, great. Pop the champagne, have fun. Learning experience, this is really valuable too. That's to celebrate, because we're that much smarter, better to execute next time around.
Yeah, for sure. I never see something as a failure. I see it, as you just mentioned, Joan. It's a learning experience. And as long as you're able to grow from it, then it's not a failure because you learned.
I think the key is to have that long-term vision, but not be attached to how you're going to get there. Because we don't see the whole staircase, just those few steps. It's like, okay, I know what I can do today. And then that's going to create a result. And then you can take the next step and the next step.
Totally. When you said that, it reminded me of an image that I always see on Google or on memes. Most people think that to get from point A to point B is a one straight line. But in entrepreneurship, it's like a whole bunch of squiggly lines. Sometimes you have to move backward before you move forward again, and then you move a couple steps backward again. And it does not look like that straight line. And success is never like that as well. There's always going to be ups and downs, valleys. But that's just part of the process. And if you're able to enjoy it, then the journey is also what matters as well, not just that end destination to me.
Well, that is such an important tip, Melissa, to enjoy the journey. It sounds a little bit cliche, but it's so true. I vowed from day one that I'm going to have fun with this podcast. Of course, there's, all sorts of challenges out there, right? With sound and scheduling challenges and umpteen other things. But at the core of it, it's super fun.
Yeah, if you're able to enjoy it, then you're going to have fun getting to that destination. And I think once you actually get there, it's not as important as the journey is always what I like to think.
Right. And back to your point about the learning experience, we've got to watch that we're not quick to judge something that happens in our business as negative, because maybe that event needed to happen in order for us to take that next step or for the next opportunity to present itself.
Yeah, I like that mindset. I think just kind of throughout this entire process, or this podcast actually, like having that positive frame of mind also is going to help you so much to getting to where you need to be. And I love that. And you definitely have that, Joan. So I love it.
When things don't go as planned, pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and tomorrow's a new day.
Exactly.
Thank you so very much, Melissa, for sharing your story, your insights, and for being today's Side Hustle Hero.
Thank you, Joan, for having me on the podcast.
Before you go, I want to highlight 2 tips that I think are real gems that Melissa shared. She said, be willing to put in the work day in and day out, even if you don't see the success or any results for many, many months. It truly separates those who are winning and those who aren't. I'll add to that, check in with your motivation for why you've chosen the side hustle you have. Is it something that your buddies got into and they told you it's something you should do? Or is your heart really in it? If it is truly something you're passionate about, and I hesitate to use that word passionate as I think it's overused these days, but your side hustle does need to be something that you can get excited about, or it's too easy to bail at the first sign of problems or challenges, your heart's got to be in it. And this leads to the second tip I want to highlight. Melissa mentioned that her Launchers Academy clients get together every Saturday for a mastermind. To me, this is a foundation piece for success. There's a lot of crap going on in the world right now. And you know what? There are a lot of exciting advancements and success stories as well. And that's what I choose to align with. You see, each of us is at choice. You can hang out with people who are positive and upbeat and talking and brainstorming about how we can achieve our goals, or you can get sucked into the negativity of others and all that is wrong with the world. Both realities exist. What are you choosing? Many years ago, I owned a delicatessen with a person who is my business partner to this day. And it was at a time that this particular city was going through some hard times. A lot of our competition closed their doors, while at the same time, ours thrived. I wrote about it in my book, The Way Success Works. Now, the reason we thrived was not because we had any superior marketing or business acumen, but it was about the choices we made. There were a lot of folks in town who were focused on how bad the economy was, how terrible things were. And I got to tell you, we ran from them as fast as we could in the opposite direction. Instead, and you can do the exact same thing with your side hustle, we held the vision in our mind of what we wanted our business to be, regardless of what the circumstances were in the moment. That caused us to thrive because doing this allowed us to see and act on opportunities that our competition didn't. Get in the right environment. You choose who you hang out with. Are the people you spend the most time with uplifting or sucking the life force out of you? When it comes to family and relatives, a mentor of mine once said, you can't necessarily divorce yourself from them, but don't go as often and don't stay as long. As I said in the last episode, while you may have some friends and family drop off as you pursue your goals, and that can be tough, But you know what? You'll attract other people who are in harmony with the vision that you hold for yourself, your business, and your financial freedom. Well, that's a wrap for today. You'll find the links we mentioned and the show notes on our website, sidehustleheropodcast.com. And I'd love to hear your feedback on the show, on the guests, how this podcast is helping you, what areas could we do better? Shoot me an email message to hello@joanposavy.com or by DM on Instagram @JoanPosavy. Thanks for listening and hustle on.